Hello, this is Chris Maynor coming to you from the campus of Union University in Jackson, Tennessee. In this video, I would like for us to look at the concept of income elasticity of demand and take a look at a problem that will illustrate how we compute income elasticity of demand. You will recall that previously we have examined price elasticity of demand, which tells us how responsive or how sensitive consumers are to a price change. Well, income elasticity of demand is a measure of how sensitive buyers or consumers are to a change in income. With income elasticity of demand, we're looking at how responsive consumers are to a pay raise or to a pay cut. If we were to add to your income or subtract from your income, what would the impact be in terms of your consumption? Now, unlike price elasticity of demand, which is always negative, it's always a negative number. The law of demand is a negative relationship. But unlike price elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand can be positive or negative. The sign matters. We have to be careful when we compute income elasticity to keep track of the direction and the sign. A positive value for income elasticity tells us that the good in question is a normal good. A normal good. You get a pay raise, you buy more of the good. There's a positive relationship between income and consumption. If the value of income elasticity is negative, then that tells us the good in question is an inferior good. You get a pay raise, you actually buy less of the good. Remember, inferior goods, the classic example is Spam, canned meat, unless, of course, you live in Hawaii, which, as I understand there, it's a delicacy. But you get a pay raise, typically you buy less Spam. You buy fewer wall unit air conditioners. You buy fewer rental unit apartments. Those are considered inferior goods. The formula for income elasticity of demand is given here as the percent change in quantity demanded divided by the percent change in income. Remember that we're going to use the symbol M for income, right? Makes a lot of sense. M is income. Actually, the letter I is already claimed in macroeconomics. I is used for investment. So we'll use the letter M to indicate income. Okay, let's look at a problem. Here we have two demand curves. This demand curve is indicating an income level of $25,000. So we may call that the original demand curve, and income is $25,000. The new demand curve, you notice it's labeled D prime, is at a level of income of $30,000. So our income has increased, but notice that the demand has decreased. So that tells us something right off the bat. We know this is an inferior good. We get a pay raise and we buy less of the good. In fact, holding price constant at $30, quantity demanded of good X decreases from 600 to 500. So how do we compute price elasticity of demand? Income elasticity of demand. Well, first we take a look at the change in quantity demanded of good X. Quantity demanded has changed from 600 to 500, a difference of 100. And we're using, again, the interval or the arc or the midpoint approach here. So the average quantity demanded of good X, the average of 500 and 600 is 550. So this is, I'm doing this backwards, this is the percent change in quantity demanded 100 divided by 550. And then we want to divide all of that by the percent change in income. Now, to make this easier, to save space, I'm just going to get rid of these last three zeros. So the change in income from 25,000 to 30,000, a difference of 5. And a midpoint, the midpoint between 25 and 30 is 27.5. And so that is our percent change in income. Now, if you do a little calculator work, if you shrink this down, you will find that at the end of the day, the value for income elasticity is 1. Now, be careful. Remember that although our income increased, our consumption of good X, the change in quantity demanded, was a decrease. So we have to keep track. Remember what we said earlier in the previous slide, that sign matters, the direction matters. And so income elasticity is not 1, but actually it is negative 1. And this negative sign, again, indicates that this good, the good in question, is an inferior good. If income had increased and demand for the good increased, of course this would be a normal good. But in this case, we have an inferior good. So remember the sign here. Keep the sign attached to the numerical value. Although income increased, quantity demanded decreased. And so negative 1 income elasticity of demand.